So tomorrow is WWDC, but we've already had one of the coolest Apple announcements of the year in terms of software, and that is Final Cut Pro for iPad. And for the past couple of weeks since its release, I've been deep diving into it and learning everything I can about it. And of course, all of you have been asking me to do a DaVinci Resolve for iPad versus Final Cut Pro for iPad video. So first, let's talk about price. DaVinci Resolve for the iPad sticks to the same pricing structure as for the computer, except less expensive. You can download it for free, use a lot of the great features built into it, but if you want to upgrade and buy the full studio version, giving you some noise reduction, open effects, and a lot of extra cool features, then you can pay a one-time $95, and that's going to last you for all future updates. Final Cut for iPad has taken the Adobe approach and gone subscription. So while you can download the app for free, but in order to use it, you're going to have to cough up either $50 a year or $5 a month. Now, I don't think that's too expensive by any means, but it's an interesting take and made a lot of people mad, as most people are just tired of adding on subscriptions. I personally am a fan of having multiple payment options. I like having a low monthly cost, an annual version, and then a one-time buyout option as well. I want to interrupt myself real quick because I want to make sure you guys don't miss out. Later on in the video, I'm going to tell you how I am giving away 3 Final Cut Pro annual licenses, and I want to make sure you guys can get it. Also, check out my brand new website that I completely just remade. Being here in Italy, I've been inspired to get back into still photography, and so I've taken a bunch of photos and then taken the best of those photos from Florence, Venice, and Rome and created my first ever wallpaper pack. So if you're interested in having a new phone background or desktop background or something to print out, then you can check that all out in the link in the description below. Again, more on that in a little bit. Now let's talk about model support. So Final Cut Pro for the iPad only works on M1 and M2 iPads. This is going to be pretty limiting for anyone outside of that range. However, DaVinci Resolve has a much wider range of iPads that it will support. We can see in the App Store compatibility list anything that supports iPad OS 16 or later and has a A12 Bionic chip or later will be supported, and you can see a whole list of iPads down below. And this is very impressive considering the feature set that DaVinci Resolve for the iPad includes. So now let's jump through and talk about layout. Now, Final Cut takes a wildly different approach when it comes to design layout though, and they really, I think, have done the best job in terms of someone who doesn't want to use a keyboard and has a lot of great on-screen controls, and their layout design is meant for you to have the iPad in your hands and not as much be sitting on a keyboard, whereas DaVinci Resolve for the iPad sticks to pretty much the same exact layout as the computer version, which means it is touch capable. Of course, it's on the iPad, but you really end up using it like a keyboard and mouse in your kind of traditional setup. But using this new jog wheel to go throughout the timeline and kind of scrub around, having your playback on the left-hand side kind of creates this perfect, like, holding the iPad kind of workflow, and you have your split clip right down here. We can ripple in, ripple out. They've really designed it to be a non-keyboard friendly workflow. Let's talk about file handling and how you import footage and kind of where everything is stored here. So on DaVinci Resolve for the iPad, you are pretty much free to edit how you would on a computer. You can save things to your iPad if you have the storage, and I can, just press and hold inside of my media pool right here, go to import, and I can import from wherever I want, including a external hard drive that I have plugged in my iPad currently. So I can just go in any of these folders, and now we have that imported, and I can use it like normal without taking up more space on my iPad if you don't have the storage. However, in Final Cut Pro for iPad, when you import new media, you actually are importing it into the iPad. Now, one thing we didn't know is if you were going to be able to interface with external drives at all, and you can. If I go to import, I can choose my files app, and I can go to the same spot in my drive here and go to the same folders, grab some footage. We can see them importing, but you can see this little loading bar, and that's because it's actually importing it into the iPad. And so now what's great is I can interface with this file. I can even unplug the hard drive, but for those of you with much smaller storage capacities, this is extremely limiting. and I hope they change this in an update. The other interesting thing about files is if I go into my Files app separately, if I go to the On My iPad section here, I can see that DaVinci Resolve has a folder, and here's where I can put third-party plugins. I can add my own LUTs, and you can kind of see all of your cache items very easily. You can delete and manage your kind of space and storage and everything in the program that's taking up space. I was very interested that Final Cut is nowhere in here. The only real way to remove this from my iPad storage is if I go into my settings, and if cache is the issue, then you can clear your cache right there. You can remove all downloads, and it even tells you how much is kind of saved in there. Clearly, neither of those is where the footage is, and so I basically have to delete this project in order to get that space back on the iPad. Doesn't really make much sense in my opinion. So accessories and third-party plugins. Now they're not on the same level only because Final Cut is brand new, so keep that in mind. They have already said that third-party support is coming for plugins, which is really nice. And I think we're going to see something that we've already seen with DaVinci Resolve for the iPad, which is the M installer from Motion VFX. And so in here I can see all my DaVinci Resolve Motion VFX plugins that I bought for my computer. I think they're just going to add their Final Cut plugins straight into here. Now before we get to what I believe is the best and worst feature of these two programs, I just want to give a shout out to all of you who have helped me grow an amazing community in both of these applications. In December, when Resolve for the iPad first launched, I launched a DaVinci Resolve for iPad kind of mini course, which has since expanded to teaching about the computer version as well. We have over, I believe, 600 people who have joined that awesome community. I'm constantly adding new videos based on the questions you guys send me. And I just launched the Final Cut Pro for iPad course, which has been in pre-sale. I'm going to be starting to add content today, tomorrow, and from this point on. So if you join the second you see this video, there may not be anything in there just yet, but if you're seeing this video either later tonight, tomorrow, or days after it was originally posted, there's a bunch of content in there as well. But for the next 48 hours until WWDC day kind of ends, I'm going to be running 25% off for the pre-sale of Final Cut Pro for the iPad. So make sure you check out the link in the description. When you join this community, it of course helps support the channel, allows me to keep making content like this, and it's what I love to do. For so long I was tied to my desk and not being able to edit on the go because I didn't have a laptop, and so this iPad truly changed the way I was able to kind of start traveling in the past year or two. So thank you all so much for the support, and I just can't wait to keep making more content for you all. Also, as a thank you, I am going to be giving away 3 annual Final Cut Pro licenses to randomly selected people that join the course, and that comes to an end tomorrow night. So make sure you join, you get signed up, and join the community. And 3 of you I'm gonna pick to basically send $50 to. I guess you could use it for something else besides the annual cost, but yeah, I'm just gonna send people $50 as a thank you. So yeah, I'll be picking those people tomorrow night after my pre-sale ends. All the links and discounts will be in the description below. All right, so what do I think is the best standout feature of each program? For Final Cut, it's kind of a toss-up between the way they've designed this jog wheel. I really think it's one of the most unique features of any editing program for the iPad. They did a fantastic job at the smoothness of the playhead and how you can move it really slow and you'll get kind of a fine scrubbing feeling. But then if you kind of flick it around, it will become a jog wheel. You even have your play pause over here on the left, which you can kind of hit this to get 2x speed. So it allows you to cut footage very quickly. But the reason that it's not the best feature yet is until they add selection follows playhead. That is one of the most important settings that I changed for Resolve on my computer as well as the iPad version. And it just simply means that whatever clip the playhead is on is selected. So if I, for example, select this live drawing thing here and then I scrub to the next, this should now be selected, because what that would allow me to do is literally just keep my hand on the play pause and playback features, and then this wheel with the cutting down below, and I could just kind of keep going throughout and cutting. But the problem is I have to lift up and kind of move everything, tap the next clip I want to deal with. If I'm cutting this, oh, I got to go backwards, so now I have to tap that again, and it just isn't as efficient as it could be if they just added selection follows playhead. So I think the best feature by far for the iPad is the live drawing. I don't think anything comes close to this. I suck at motion graphics, but I love motion graphics, but I never make them because it's so difficult. Like I don't know After Effects. I'm pretty slow at Fusion still, besides just a few basic things. So being able to come in here and, you know, just create these, you know, whatever expressive, amazing things that I want to do, and you can add so much to your videos in seconds, and no other program for the iPad has it. So what about DaVinci Resolve? What is the best feature here? Well, to be honest, this may sound like a cop-out, but it's the fact that the entire program is here. Ever since that hack where we were able to add all of the all 7 pages to the program, and you can go in and you have the full color page support to do full color grading, which Final Cut Pro for the iPad severely lacks in terms of color capabilities. Pretty much every feature on the desktop you have on here, and that means your projects also open seamlessly. This is a project that I started on my computer version and just simply plugged in the same drive that has all of the assets, and now it's on my iPad that I can finish up, playback, and I don't have to worry about like, oh, is this feature compatible on this version, or oh, I couldn't import the same title card or same asset on the iPad one, so now it's going to be broken when I go back to the Mac version. Okay, but what about the worst feature or biggest drawback of each of these software? For me personally, the biggest drawback is the lack of dual monitor support for DaVinci Resolve for the iPad. It's the one feature that I can't use the keyboard shortcut for the hack. I can plug in an external monitor. I actually just did a video recently on it, and it looks great. And if you have the studio version, you can long press on your viewer and get a clean feed to a secondary monitor. But I would love, because a 13-inch screen, while it's large for an iPad, is still pretty small in terms of video editing. You don't have a ton of screen real estate. If they would allow full dual monitor support where I can put my tools and kind of the effects and titles and everything over on another monitor, and here just have my viewer and my timeline similar to how I can have set up on a computer version, that would be a game changer for me. Final Cut Pro for the iPad. For me, I could cop out and say the external drive thing. I think that is a hugely missed opportunity that I understand is so many upsetting people. I don't think it's the pricing is an issue. To be honest, if you're gonna use it even a little bit over the course of weeks and months, I think the $5 a month or $50 a year is pretty much worth it and will pay for itself instantly. The worst feature of it, I think, is the color grading. It is just abysmal. If you're someone who likes to make very minimal adjustments, you know, maybe just add some contrast, some vibrancy to your already great in-camera image, this is going to be great for you. But if you're someone who enjoys the process of color correction, color grading, color matching, then this is not the program for you. The free version of DaVinci Resolve for iPad that you can just download and never have to pay for, that has the full color page with, you know, if you don't pay, you don't have every single color tool, but it still is light years above what you can do in this program. So what do you guys think about DaVinci Resolve for iPad versus Final Cut Pro for the iPad? Hopefully this video helped educate, maybe help you decide which one you kind of want to go with. Have you played with each? Let me know down in the comments below. I am so excited for WWDC tomorrow. It's going to be like 7 p.m. my time because I'm here in Rome still, but anyways, I can't wait to see you all there. Thanks so much for watching. See you in the next video.